The Wilkes family gets a moment to breathe after reliving one of the worst days of their lives this week.
And if you start to get overheated, you might feel a little shaky, like you can't stand up. Your vision may blur, and if things go to black, well, that means it's time to call the doctor. In South Walton, all 4 of your elementary and middle schools earning an A. Now across the bay on the northern end of the county, Freeport Middle School earning a B, while the rest earn C's.
Amy and Jerry, I'm on scene at Bonita Avenue and East 8th Court in Panama City on what the Panama City Police Department has confirmed as a shooting with at least 1 dead. Now go ahead and take a look behind me.
Now I do have the latest from PCPD right now. We just got this press release in. The names of the deceased are Marco L. Bostwick. He's 40 years of age.
These days when there's breaking news out in the field,
You can record it on your cell phone, and in a matter of minutes,
You can share it on Facebook.
Elizabeth Prescott was 19, newly married, and an employee here at the Walmart on Tyndall Parkway.
In our team coverage tonight, News 13's Andrew Ruiz joins us inside the election supervisor office.
When the recommendation was read aloud, a range of emotions flooded that room. You had fear, you had relief, you had some that were in anguish. Yet the face of Stephen Cozy remained unmoved.
Amy, even I had chills listening to Michael Spencer recount the horrific events of June 16, 2011, the day 15-year-old Courtney Ann Wilkes was tragically murdered. Now, what was once a close friendship between Stephen Cozy and Michael Spencer soon dissolved into Spencer fearing for his life. Now, parents with children in the room watching this evening, take note that some of the things you're about to hear may be disturbing.
I just killed this chick.
Those were the words that Michael Spencer heard come out of Stephen Cozy's mouth that fateful day. According to Spencer's testimony, the 21-year-old had expressed fantasies.
Raping and killing underage and women his own age.
Though he didn't believe his friend of multiple years was capable.
If they would have asked me a few years ago, I would have told them he was my best friend.
But that friendship would dissolve into horror when Spencer says he was led to the murder site of 15-year-old Courtney Wilkes along the Casino Nature Trail in Seagrove Beach. He says Cozy told him just how he did it.
He told me that he had strangled her with his shirt, her shirt, his bare hands, stomped on the back of her neck, and then found some sort of piece of wood and bashed her head in repeatedly. His words was, I stood there next to her and looked at the piece of wood. Do I want to use the flat end or the side? Flat end or side? And then he said, I said, and just started hitting her in the head with the side of it.
Now, Spencer's testimony plays a key role in this case. Interestingly enough, Spencer told Cozy years before that he had in fact killed 2 men in his home state of Texas. Now, while that story wasn't true, it was brought up by Cozy the day he did show Spencer Courtney Wilkes' body.
Addie, it's a sobering sight.
And for some, a morale booster, according to 81-year-old Ed Armbruster. He says the shutdown can take away veteran benefits, but not their will to fight back.
Something's wrong, and that's why we fly the flag upside down. And all of the military guys, the ones that are veterans, they understand what that's all about.
A long-standing military symbol of distress, soaring 50 feet above the parking lot of Ed Armbruster's Defuniak Springs business complex. It's also a striking protest against the government shutdown's direct effect on military services.
I'm concerned about the hurt that's being put upon the military people.
Specifically, the cut of death benefits denied to the families of soldiers killed in action during this partial shutdown.
That rubbed me wrong, and I said I have to do something.
Thursday, the Senate unanimously approved legislation to restore death benefits following the House vote on Wednesday. But Armbruster's flag will still fly. It's a call to action to other veterans, he says, to restore morale in the military community.
And every veteran can do his thing and turn that flag upside down, and then for whatever his reason is, he might have it in his heart, but he'd say, well, take that.
A fighting spirit inherent in any vet, he says, when enough is enough.
Jerry, when 7-year-old Arthur Moore was reported missing by his wife Lottie Moore on September 9th, investigators didn't believe that she nor her daughter or son-in-law Mary and David Clanton had anything to do with it. But a tip late yesterday would make this missing persons case anything but routine. Now this was a homicide.
We're always skeptical of something like, well, he just walked off.
Sheriff Frank McKeithen says Lottie Moore, Mary Clanton, and David Clanton went through great lengths to corroborate the story that their husband and father, Arthur Moore, was a missing person. But 6 weeks later, that nearly airtight story found a hole when David was joking with a co-worker.
And his friend said, "Heck, you probably killed him." He said, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "You probably choked him out." He said, "Yeah, I did."
Jokes aside, that conversation gave investigators a tip, which led to the trio's confessions and arrests. Lottie was the brains behind the crime, David the brawn, and the 8-month pregnant Mary an accomplice. September 8th, David allegedly strangled a sleeping Moore in his bed at their Stauber Lane home. Then the three took the body to bury it many miles down Steelfield Road.
The subject that committed the homicide took the investigators to an area where the body was located that there would be no way possible for these guys to find that body.
While investigators worked overnight and well into the afternoon Friday to recover the body, the sheriff's office addressed motive.
They didn't like him. He was mean is what they said, and I think they're mean.
News 13's Addie Hampton was there as voices were raised along with concerns. Addie, a pretty intense meeting.
And an indication on a much smaller scale of the attitudes of the American people, according to Steve Sutherland, who says he's never seen the country more divided.
It didn't take long for the name calling.
Stupid white boy! Oh, shut up!
And the passionate outcries continued Monday. Congressman Steve Sutherland, fresh off the government shutdown, sought to address his constituents. But perhaps in a snapshot of America's divisiveness, the impassioned room took on Sutherland and each other. Last Thursday, Sutherland was one of 144 House Republicans who voted to keep the government closed, a move that would require America to default on its debt. But with good reason, he says.
I think it fulfilled my promise that I would do everything I could to protect our constituents from a bad law.
That law, the Affordable Health Care Act, at the center of the budget battle and a pivot point of action for some Republicans who strongly oppose the Obama administration's signature legislation. But after 16 days of shutdown, town hall attendees seemed anxious.
Hey, listen, I can out-yell you because I got a mic.
Fearful of history repeating itself this January if a spending deal cannot be reached.
I'm optimistic that our budget committees in the House and the Senate are going to work together to find a framework to address the biggest underlying problem, and that's our spending.
While Sutherland says compromise is possible, the potential of another $24 billion shutdown is a glaring reminder that action must be taken.